So there is something going on in crypto that is a little different than what we've been seeing in the past, and it actually is the way that adoption is taking place. We've historically seen a bottom up adoption, and this time we're seeing a top down adoption, at least so far this cycle. This is why a lot of altcoin holders are pissed off. It's why we're still just patiently waiting for this big boom in the market. And I will say that this is a little bit of a double-edged sword, the way that this is taking place. And it's kind of a ticking time bomb. And in this sense, that's good. And we're going to talk about all that, but I do want to talk about how this will change the industry in totality for the future. So if you guys are new or haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, hit that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So we know that for the most part, this cycle has in fact been very similar to cycles past, and some people may disagree, but you can look back structurally. It's still very, very similar. Some things out of the ordinary. The rate at which BTC hit an all-time high, obviously before the halving, has never happened before. The rate at which BTC extended past that all-time high has never happened that aggressively, that early. And the reason why this is taking place is, one, because of the introduction of institutional money that took place back in early 2024. That kind of set the ball rolling and put the ball in motion for this inverse adoption model that we've been seeing. So now, during this time, we've seen huge institutional players emerge. For example, BlackRock has added $71.31 billion worth of BTC in this cycle alone when they started with zero. Fidelity has added $21.44 billion worth of BTC when they started this cycle with zero. They have been buying and buying and buying and accumulating and accumulating and accumulating. And what we're now seeing as well is enterprises and governments start to get on board. We have Michael Saylor, who has been adding insane amounts of BTC. We know that the train there just never stops. We have governments around the world talking about adding Bitcoin reserves and making Bitcoin accessible and all these different things. And what we're starting to see is a little bit different marketing this cycle around. All right. So what we've traditionally seen from these cycles is bottom up adoption, retail trying to front run the industry and be first. We're the innovators. We're the early adopters. We're here before the masses. And that's why altcoins have had some pretty significant runs over time, because people understand that there is more ROI to be made on altcoins. And that is why we get these traditional alt seasons, right? Because BTC usually leads the way, it does well, and then altcoins tend to follow. We have not seen that big altcoin emergence yet. We've obviously been waiting for something like, BTC dominance to really drop off in a big way, and it just hasn't happened. In fact, this cycle, it's looked like pretty much just a straight up and to the right. I mean, we've been talking about this since all the way back in 2022. And there hasn't been much in terms of relief in sight. There's a couple times it's been close, but unfortunately it's been squashed by different things, black swan events, quantum computing concerns, right? But yet, while this is happening, what we're still seeing is huge Bitcoin marketing, huge top-down marketing. So I was actually doing some golfing yesterday. Go figure. That's what I've been doing with a lot of my free time. But we were getting some rain. I was in the clubhouse and the stock channel was on. And what were they talking about? They were talking about Bitcoin. They were talking about the crypto industry in general, but mostly focusing on the top. So what we're now seeing is those large entities are all focusing on Bitcoin and trying to accumulate as much as they can and marketing it to the people with big money, basically working from the top down rather than allowing retail to get in. All right. That's why we haven't seen this big surge in exchange app downloads. It's why we haven't seen global search traffic on the rise. And that's why we're seeing stuff like this. For example, Alex Becker said, BlackRock literally went on TV and told normies their Bitcoin will be stolen by future evil quantum computers, while at the same time YOLOing another 200 mil into it. They are shaking out as many as they can before the big up. Hold the line. And he's not wrong. This is exactly the sick game and the manipulation like we've been talking about. And so things have kind of changed. And the people that would normally pump the crypto market, the organic growth that we would normally see, has been essentially put on hold for the time being. All right. Now, this is where it's a bit of a double-edged sword. It sucks because, again, we haven't seen this big, altcoin emergence. We haven't seen this big altcoin explosion. Yes, we did, in fact, set a new all-time high compared to last market cycle, but barely, right? We wicked, we came back down, we retested that prior all-time high, and then we dropped. It's because we haven't had that big normal retail adoption like we've been waiting for. Now, I guess the good thing for top altcoins is that institutional players are getting into some of these coins. Grayscale, obviously trying to launch all these different spot ETF products, and we're seeing this for XRP, we're seeing this for ADA, we're seeing this for Doge, we've seen this for Solana. So a lot of the top alts are probably going to see huge institutional interest in buying take place. And eventually this retail surge is going to happen. And it's probably going to be at a time where we've seen a lot of the supply grabbed by a lot of these large players in the space. So this is where it's a double-edged sword, right? Because the industry is essentially becoming kind of more centralized, but it's going to allow this limited supply to create some big booms in the space where these altcoins just go on massive runs. And then, yes, we can still see some massive runs from lower cap coins as well, because the amount of people that are going to get into the space is going to be massive. We're talking about, us running from that 5 to 6% of the world in crypto to over 10%. All right. We're talking about running from what a $3.38 trillion market cap currently to somewhere between 10 to $12 trillion. And yes, I think that, BTC dominance is probably going to set a higher low, but I don't think BTC dominance is going to be anywhere where it's at, right? Because you can only hold back this adoption for so long. They're doing a good job of it. They're trying to shake people out of their bags, and people are falling for it, and that's fine. They can do whatever the hell they want. But it's very clear what is taking place. Now, what I will say is that this is going to change the industry forever. In the sense that, pure crypto was supposed to be launched in the purest form. It was supposed to be peer-to-peer digital currency. And it has obviously become everything but that in a good and a bad way, right? Obviously bad because of the centralization, because of the introduction of institutional players and governments. That's gotten away from everything we intended it to be, but good because we've seen additional use cases evolve from this real world asset tokenization. Obviously the implementation of AI, we obviously know payrail systems, which, is more like peer-to-peer digital currency, is really starting to enter the enterprise market. There are so many things that are actually coming from this in a good way. So you have to unfortunately take the bad with the good. It's good and bad. And I will say that at least the good thing is that over time, we're going to see some pretty massive growth throughout the market. And yes, altcoins are going to go on massive runs again. But the thing that sucks is we've just had to wait a lot longer than what we normally would. It sucks. It is what it is. But understand that you can only hold the masses back so long, because eventually that marketing that they're doing, when all not when all the rich people are in, but when all the big entities are in and they've scooped up some of their pie or their pieces of the pie, they're going to start marketing to retail. I talked about this actually, I think it was last fall, where you're going to see ETFs really grab huge portions of supply. They're going to start marketing their products from the top down, and you will eventually start to see, guess what? Crypto enter 401ks. You're going to see it be more accessible. I mean, that stuff is already starting to be hinted at, if you guys aren't picking up the series of events to get there. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. I was just thinking about that yesterday, thinking about that this morning. And I think that it's very important to understand this distinction about how this cycle is kind of flipped. And what this means is that, yes, we still have some exciting times ahead, but the biggest thing that we can have for the biggest growth cycle ever is patience. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.